Hello, I'm Major Roderick Osborne, Director of Inmate Services at the Prince William-Manassas Regional Adult Detention Center. We are a jail that holds offenders whose crimes range from intoxicated in public to capital murder. Most of the inmates in our custody will be adjudicated and eventually returned to the community from which they came. With that in mind, we host several programs that inmates who are not maximum custody can attend. These programs include anger management, parenting classes, GED, faith-based reentry, and drug rehabilitation, to name a few. We also host quarterly reentry fairs, where inmates who are 90 days from release can get plugged into the nearly 45 private and public groups that can assist them with everything from a driver's license, housing, substance abuse counseling, to second chance employers. Inmates who attend these types of programs are 50% less likely to recidivate. It is important to equip these individuals with the tools they need as they re-enter society, so they do not re-offend. For the last 15 years, I have visited Quantico or Henderson Hall with some of the program participants who share their story with the troops before Memorial Day weekend. It is our desire that their story of poor choices and their consequences will serve as a cautionary tale. I encourage all of you to listen to their story with the understanding that this could be your story. Alcohol and drugs do not discriminate in their effects to judgment. I've seen every class of citizen pay a price for the wrong decision at the wrong time. Today you will hear from three men who will tell you why they find themselves in our custody, and they hope you can learn from it.
Good afternoon. My name is Sergeant First Class Retired Michael E. Dyer, Sr. I stand before you to speak about the effects of drugs and alcohol and how it can and will destroy your life. But first, let me give you a little background about myself. I had a long and distinguished career in the United States Army. I joined the Army in 1983. My basic training was Fort Jackson, South Carolina. From there, I went to AIT at Fort Dix, New Jersey. I was a transportation specialist, which was 88 Mike. I served 2 tours in Germany, 1 in South Korea. I did 2 humanitarian aid missions, 1 in Russia, 1 in Bosnia. I served at Fort Eustis, Virginia, and the 3rd Infantry, U.S. Army Old Guard, Fort Myer, Virginia is where I retired. I had a good career, long career. I did 20 years. I had the house. I had the wife, 2 children. My mother-in-law stayed with me for 30 years. It was marvelous. I had everything that comes with that. But now I stand before you facing approximately 10 to 40 years because of the bad decisions and choices that I've made. I started drinking alcohol legally at the age of 18. I lost a job in 2011 with Metro, and that's where all my troubles began. I started getting with the wrong crowd, drinking, using drugs, selling drugs. I thought that it would never happen to me. I would never get caught. Well, in 2013, I was arrested. Got a slap on the wrist, got out, stayed drug-free and everything for about 5 years, maybe 4 years. Got right back into it. Started using drugs, started drinking alcohol, started waking up in strange places because of my alcohol use and drug use. I'm at hotels. Now, granted, I'm married at this time, but I'm doing all the things that a single man and all the things that drugs and alcohol leads an individual to do. Nothing good, nothing positive. Ran into a couple of guys. Got some weight, started selling again, got caught. I sit here before you and I just say the choices that you make when it comes to drugs and alcohol will affect you for the rest of your life. You can say, oh, I'm not going to get caught. Oh, it's not me. Oh, I can use a little bit. Oh, I can just do this and this and this. The truth of the matter is, you're going to get caught. It will affect your life. It will destroy it. I've lost, or let me say, I've given away everything because of drugs and alcohol. I have a granddaughter that's 7 years old that has to come see me behind a glass. Every day that she comes see me, each and every time, her words to me is, Granddaddy, I love you, and I wish that I could just hug and kiss you. I have a 90-year-old mother-in-law that's lived with me for 30 years. Every day I talk to her, all she says is how much she misses me, how much she loves me. I did everything for them. And I gave all that away because of the decisions that I've made, the choices that I've made to use, buy, or sell drugs or alcohol. So if you take nothing away from this, please make the right decisions, make the right choices, because nothing good comes from drugs and alcohol. Thank you for letting me share my story.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Louis Payton. I'm coming before you today on behalf of the facility to just give you a testimony and an experience that I have had personally throughout my life. I feel honored to be selected by the administration to be able to do this. My hope is that it broadens your understanding of life's decisions and how it can translate into your ultimate outcome of where you end up and where you can go, that journey and that path that you take. Growing up, I came from a very military family. I have 5 cousins that graduated from Texas A&M, and that's the Aggies, if y'all didn't know. And then I have 2 grandparents. They're colonels at Andrews Air Force Base, and my father, he's a retired Marine. You know, when I was young coming up, I personally enrolled in an ROTC program. I came out of that, and I was told if I enlisted in the Marines, I would be an E4 starting off because I knew how to march. I knew how to cadence and everything that came with that. So shortly after that, I did enlist in the Marine Corps. I went to Fort Meade to take that ASVAB test. I know that you know, growing up, I was a high school graduate, and I was very optimistic about my life's future. And so when me and my cousin discussed this, you know, the buddy program, they called it at that time, we thought it would be something that we could do. And so I did ultimately end up going to Fort Meade and take my ASVAB test. At this point in my life, I was sort of young-minded, though. I thought certain things didn't apply to me. I had the feeling that you know, I came from a good home. I was protected from some of the struggles that certain people, the less fortunate, might face. I mean, this gave me a sort of sense of reality, false sense of reality, that, you know, my attitude reflected this false sense of security that I carried with me in my everyday life. I was never subjected to the temptation of drugs or alcohol. I was an overachieving child and a high school graduate. A good family I came from, you know, 3 sisters. My sister now, she's a doctor. Both of my sisters graduated college, so I come from a pretty well-to-do family. I feel that all this sort of gave me a sort of wrong perception of what life is, because I carried that chip on my shoulder even when I got in trouble. When some might face hardship or trouble, punishment, they might take that and internalize it. I didn't do that. I almost pushed back against it. I was much like this through my life. You know, so I feel that when you're young, you know, you have this attribute that's given to you by all young people that possess it. You know, the ability to succeed and to push forward, to be an entrepreneur, to blindlessly run forward. And I think we all possess that as we are younger and in our youth. But with that great power, and with any great power comes great responsibility. I didn't handle that responsibility right as I was growing up. When I went to Fort Meade, it was a 3-day process, as you ladies and gentlemen probably also know. I did pretty well, other than the fact that I don't like needles, and they take a lot of blood from you. They poked and prodded me, and I made it through that. I did pretty good on the aptitude test. I chose not to immediately enlist, and they told me that if I came back within 30 days, the ASVAB test would still be honored. So I took that, and I said, okay, I'll just come back in 30 days. Well, not even home for 2 weeks before a friend and I were caught with cocaine. We were driving around in the car drinking, pulled over. We both were charged with a felony. I was convicted of that felony, and my life would forever be altered. I was no longer Marine Corps eligible. As a felon, you can't be given a waiver in the Marine Corps. I think the Army allows it, and some other branches of the military, but the Marine Corps does not. My family was very upset with me. I was drinking, doing cocaine, and my life was going nowhere fast. All of this occurring in my life, but I still had the misconception of my perception of myself. I still felt that I was different, that I wasn't an addict, that I'm intelligent, and that's just not me. I carried this misconception of myself through my life, through all my incidents and mistakes that I made. I carried that perception of myself. I had this aura of superiority. This turned into a long-term pitfall for me, and it kept me from seeing the truth about myself and properly assessing my ultimate projection of my life and the immediate direction of my circumstances. If anything I can implore upon anyone younger than I, it would be open-minded to listening to others, to learn from their experiences, or how it could possibly apply to you in your own life. When considering others' experiences, the relevance of it has on your own, it subconsciously or even consciously pushes you in a direction of knowledge and understanding, which could ultimately equal prevention. I hope and pray that you can gain some wisdom through my experience and therefore realize we are all susceptible to addiction, and ultimately none of us are invincible. My biggest personal roadblock was my own self. My own self telling myself, that's not me, or that doesn't apply to me. As you see now, that is me, and it does apply to me. In your life, you'll make your own mistakes and errors, but they will be and can force you to pause and evaluate. As much as we dread them, they can be blessings that turn mirrors of reflection into windows of insight. The biggest opportunities for growth are not found in the midst of success, but in the methods which we address failure. I hope something I say could impress upon you the importance of the things you come across in the daily living and the daily choices that you might make, and that you will consider them a little bit more serious, and therefore the choices you make will be the better ones and the right ones for your ultimate future. Thank you for letting me share this with you.
To start off, my name is Antonio Gonzalez. I'd like to tell you about an incident that pretty much changed my entire life. It was started off on a Saturday morning. It was just like any regular Saturday morning. My girlfriend and I, we got up, we got our day started. Usually I'm off on a Saturday morning, but however, I decided to pick up an extra shift for work that day because her and I was getting ready to buy our first townhome together in Washington, D.C. It was a place that the owner agreed to rent to own for us for only $1,200 a month. He was moving down to North Carolina, so we was really excited about that. So I picked up the extra shift, went to work. Then later that night, my friend invited me to a birthday party that he was having at a hookah bar in Alexandria, Virginia. So at first we weren't going to go to the party or to the gathering, whatever you want to call it. But her and I, we barely ever went out. We always cooped up in the house together. So we was like, you know what, let's just go out for once. The only thing was we wasn't driving our car, we was driving her sister's car, which was a Mini Cooper at the time. I really wasn't a big fan of the car, but our car was broken and it was in the shop, so we decided to drive her sister's car. We go to the gathering and everything is all good, just a normal night with friends, just having fun. We had a few drinks, and then at the end of the night, I opened her car door. Can we stop? So once that night was over, we was leaving the bar, and I opened the car door for her as I normally do, and then I got into the driver's seat and I gave her a kiss and I was like, "You ready to go?" And she said, "Yeah." So we made our way back down the Woodbridge. As we was driving, everything was perfectly fine. Nothing seemed different about our drive. And as we were coming up on our exit, I noticed she starts getting sleepy as well, and I start feeling tired as well. I grab her hand and I kiss her hand, and tell her that I love her, and to rub the top of her head and let her know we almost home. As we take the exit, I fell asleep, and that's when I hit the back of a tractor trailer. And then once I got up after the impact of the truck, I ran around to the other side of the car, opened her car door, and grabbed her and tried to wake her up. I was like, "Babe, wake up, we got into an accident. Wake up." And but she wouldn't wake up. She didn't wake up at all. I thought she was just hurt, but she wouldn't wake up. And then the ambulance and officers came. And the only thing they really cared about was just a field sobriety test. And my main concern was making sure my girlfriend was okay. And that's when they told me she had died on impact of that from the truck. Ever since that day, it changed my whole life. Like, you go from one day spending every minute with a person, to the next day not having them. Like, I was just talking to her a few seconds before, told her we almost home. Now she'll never be here again. Right? And that day, it just changed everything for me. Like, because she's not the only person that died in that accident. Like, a part of me died with her too. And just because of that one bad decision I decided, like, I'm dealing with the consequences today. Like, every day I wake up in pain, just reminded of the accident. Still have nightmares about it. It was just really hard. Like, I lost my job. I'm here serving time because of it. The one good thing, though, is that her family, they all supported me through the whole thing. No one turned their backs on me or anything like that. For anybody that's watching this, I encourage you to not drink and drive. Just think about all the choices you make from here on out. If you ever thought about drinking and driving, just please don't. Like, the last thing I ever thought it would be me. I used to sell insurance, and I used to hear stories about things like this, and I used to always tell myself, like, wow, these are things that you can only imagine, and the last person you ever expect to happen to is you. And sure enough, I was one of those people that didn't expect for it to happen to, and it happened to me. I'm not the only one suffering from this loss. I have her mother, have her sister as well. Like, several people suffer from this loss, her students. So it wasn't just me. Like, there was a very great person, beautiful person inside and out who was taken from this world because of a decision I made. And I'm truly sorry. And I just hope that you can learn from my mistakes.
Thank you for your attention to this message today. I hope you got something from it. It took courage and humility for these men to share it with you, and they did so voluntarily. I want to thank you all for your service, and may you have a great, safe Memorial Day weekend.